Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, all. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. We are going to start, okay? Whether you're in the sanctuary or not. Is that me? Our universal heritage proposes that each person is made of divine goodness. And science offers that we are stardust. Whatever your beliefs, know that you are a gift worthy of inherent love. We're a gift, and we're glad that you're here. Love is the spirit of all souls. In this moment of our shared journey, may you feel witnessed and honored wherever you are on your journey. Now, please greet your neighbors. I'm getting
Good morning, all souls. And welcome to all of us who are here in this moment, and also to those who will be catching us later on online. I am Emily Salinas. My pronouns are she, ella. John Murphy, pronouns he, him. And I will be serving as your worship associates today. Together with Nancy Olson, Acting Director of Faith Formation, and Gabe Perbieri, our Music Director, pronouns he, him, we are your worship team on the chancel today. Reverend Katie, our Senior Minister, will be back with us in just a few short weeks via Zoom from Buenos Aires, where I and many other UUs will join her for our second Spanish language and cultural immersion program. The Reverend Christin Green will be today's speaker via video later in the worship service. In the worship service. People of all ages are joyfully welcomed in service. However, nursery care is also available if that option works best for you. And at the end of your pews, you'll notice that there are connection cards. I invite everyone to please complete a connection card. It's a great way to let us know if you would like support, if you need any assistance, have new contact information, or have an interest, comment, or question. Again, welcome, and we are so glad you are here today.
So I have a few short announcements. First of all, the pulpit flowers today are offered by Nancy and Gary Bainey, who are, wait for it, celebrating their 61st wedding anniversary. I also remind you that today is the last day for you to share your appreciation for Teddy Rahill, who has been our AV technician for these many months. He's heading off to college, and so the book is available in Harris Hall if you'd like to make a note in there. A reminder that today is the last day for the silent auction. It's been going on virtually, but it'll be from 9 to 1. Be sure that you get the winning bid on the items you've been watching, so fair warning. Reverend Katie's summer schedule, as Emily mentioned, she'll be on vacation July 28th through July 14th, and then she'll be working for Buenos Aires July 15th through August 4th, where she will help us with worship services from there. And then she'll be on study leave from August 4th to August 10th. So she'll be back on August 11th. We'll do our best to hold up without her. I'm also going to tell you about today's speaker, Reverend Christin C. Green. She's the new UU senior minister at the UU congregation of York, Pennsylvania. And previously, she served in the D.C. metro area as an assistant minister. She's a graduate of Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C., and was ordained into UU ministry in 2020. And she's currently pursuing her doctorate in ministry. As we begin our time together, we acknowledge the land itself and those who have sustained it throughout the generations. We are upon the unceded land of the Lenape, Miami, Kaskaskia, Shawnee, and Kickapoo people who were pushed from their land and whose children were stolen. As we strive to be a community of justice, let us continue to find ways to make reparations. Please enjoy the words of Marge Piercy entitled, "To Be of Use."
The people I love best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shadows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight.
They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls.
I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again.
I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire must be put out.
The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident.
Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put into museums, but you know they were made to be used.
The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person for work that is real.
Good morning. Lydia and Elena will be lighting our chalice this morning. Thank you. Or Lydia. Thank you, girls. They know how to do it very well. They have done it many times. Each week, we take this moment to remind us of our ritual, that of saying our covenant, which we have been saying since the beginning of this congregation. It is a time for us to renew our promise, to live into our covenant, to put love into action, and to live out this community of love and justice that we aim to be. So if you would please rise in body or spirit as we share the words that are in your order of celebration. They are in both English and Spanish, and we will speak the Spanish first. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos unos a otros. Este es nuestro pacto. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. Thank you. You may be seated.
This reading is from No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming Suffering by Zen Buddhist Master Thich Nhat Hanh. In each of our Plum Village practice centers around the world, we have a lotus pond. Everyone knows we need to have mud for lotuses to grow. The mud doesn't smell good, but the lotus flower smells very good. If you don't have mud, the lotus won't manifest. You can't grow lotus flowers on marble. Without the mud, there can be no lotus. It is possible, of course, to get stuck in the mud of life. It is easy enough to notice mud all over you at times. The hardest thing to practice is not allowing yourself to be overwhelmed by despair. When you're overwhelmed by despair, all you can see is suffering everywhere you look. You feel as if the worst thing is happening to you. But we must remember that suffering is a kind of mud that we need in order to generate joy and happiness. Without suffering, there is no happiness. So we shouldn't discriminate against the mud. We have to learn how to embrace and cradle our own suffering and the suffering of the world with a lot of tenderness. If you know how to make good use of the mud, you can grow beautiful lotuses. If you know how to make good use of suffering, you can produce happiness. We do need some suffering to make happiness possible. And most of us have enough suffering inside and around us to be able to do that. We don't have to create more.
This hymn I invite you to stand and sing along with us. This hymn is not very often sung by us, but it's beautiful and it reflects a lot on the theme of this service. So I want to invite you to sing with me the melody, and then we're going to play a little bit with it. Okay? Uh, Ready? Go. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. Easy enough, right? Now just the first phrase. I want you guys to repeat without stopping. Just the first phrase. So ready, go. I know this rose will repeat. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. Okay, now that we already know this part, I want this side of the congregation to sing the whole thing with me, while the other side of the congregation will be only repeating the first phrase. Okay? Ready? I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. And repeat. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this flows will open. Beautiful. Thank you.
Join me in taking a few moments to note that which is currently bringing joy or sorrow to our community. Community members are welcome to light a candle before or after the service in recognition of that which dwells in your hearts. John will light a candle for us today for our community. And let us hold a moment of silence together for the joys and sorrows in our hearts that are yet unnamed. Thank you. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 1009 in your blue or teal hymnal, the meditation on breathing.
Before we sing, I want to invite you to meditate on breathing. So, if you feel comfortable, please close your eyes and just breathe with us. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. As you feel comfortable in your body, in your breath, start singing with me. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe and keep going. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And while you're singing, I want you to allow your body to relax.
Breathe in.
You don't need a book for that. You don't need to read anything. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe. Make sure your body is relaxed. Move your shoulders a little bit. Move your arms, your legs.
Breathe out.
Breathe in.
Breathe
out. Breathe in.
Breathe out.
When I breathe in, I'm breathing peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe in love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Sing with me. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Thank you.
A short reading from Psalms 30. This is an interesting translation that I hadn't heard before. I sing praises to you who have pulled me up and did not let my enemies celebrate victory over me. When I cried out for help, you healed me. You brought me up from hell. You gave me life. All of you, I encourage you to sing and shout your gratitude. Conflict lasts for a moment, but love lasts a lifetime. Weeping may linger for the night, but joy comes in the morning. With that, I encourage you to sit back, relax, and enjoy our video presentation by the Reverend Christin Green.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Christin Green. I am joining you from Baltimore, Maryland this morning, and it is such a pleasure and an honor to be with you. The biblical psalmist praises the faithfulness of the God of their understanding for bringing them up out of the pit. The Buddhist gardener notices the smell of the mud and the smell of the lotus blossom, praising a similar faithfulness of nature. It requires faith to know that the lotus flower grows best in the mud, and so do we. And I think we can all agree that there's plenty of mud to go around. But to figure out how to get to that lotus blossom at the end of the story that rises gracefully out of the muck, we have to explore some things in a bit of detail first. What is the mud? What is the lotus? And how do we get there? The four noble truths of Buddhism are this. 1, there is suffering. 2, there is a course of action that generates suffering. 3, suffering ceases. There is happiness. And 4, there's a course of action that leads to the cessation of suffering, the arising of happiness. Thich Nhat Hanh suggests that many of us don't know how to accept that there is suffering because we try to cover it up and get around it, rather than learning to suffer well. Mindfulness practices aid in the awareness of pain and suffering so that we can connect more deeply with ourselves and others. Rebecca Parker, one of our Christian UU theologians, pushes back on the idea of redemptive suffering, that suffering can save us. Taught by some theologies of Christianity, often leading the oppressed to believe that suffering is glorified and is their lot in life. Black humanist theologian Anthony Pinn writes, "Suffering is evil and it must end. To think otherwise is to deny the value of human life." In Pinn's view, suffering results from human misconduct. Pinn trusts that we can end oppression and find ways to eliminate other kinds of suffering. When we finally stop waiting for the divine to help, he says, we will take the initiative to help others and ourselves. Said another way, Pinn believes that joy comes in the morning only if we take the initiative. Regardless of our theology or what we all think about God, we also form beliefs about theodicy, or the problem of evil. We have beliefs about the mud and the life force that propels the lotus to grow. But what are our beliefs about the lotus? In Buddhist tradition, the lotus symbol is not of our inner individual enlightenment. For our own enlightenment without the reduction and suffering of others is no enlightenment at all. Instead, the lotus is collective enlightenment and liberation. The lotus represents purity of body, speech, and mind, as if floating above the murky waters of material attachment and physical desire. The lotus represents growth, beauty, and rising energy. I'm hoping that we might be able to make good use of our suffering over the last several years and discover happiness. I'm hoping that we can realize that we are not approaching a crisis, but approaching our pathway of recovery from one. That out of this collective feeling of being stuck in the mud, something calls us back to hope, to growth, to beauty, to liberation. So how do we get there? Rebecca Parker writes in an essay about her 1976 cross-country road trip to seminary when she and a friend had decided to take some back roads. She describes that one afternoon while passing through rural Pennsylvania, they noticed blinking yellow lights warning of danger. They saw fields covered in standing water and passed several roads that were blocked off and closed. "It looks like they had a flood here," they said. And they crossed a bridge over a wide river. The water was high and muddy, flowing fast. Sandbags lined the roadway. "Gosh," they said, "they must have had quite a bit of high water to contend with here. It looks like it was a major flood." The two travelers headed out of town, following a winding country road, all the while noting the evidence all around them that there had been a dramatic flood. Then they rounded a bend, and in front of them, a sheet of water covered the roadway. The water was rising fast, like a huge silver balloon being inflated before their eyes. They stopped and started to turn the car around, but the water was rising behind them as well. Suddenly, they realized the flood hadn't happened yesterday or last week. It was happening here and now. Dry ground was disappearing fast. They scrambled out of their car to higher ground. They were soaked to the bone outside of their familiar insulated car, outside the familiar insulated misjudgments about the country they were. This is what it's like to be white in America. It is to travel well ensconced in a secure vehicle, to see the signs of what is happening in the world outside the compartment one is traveling in and not realize that these signs have any contemporary meaning. It is to be dislocated, to misjudge your location, and to believe you are uninvolved and unaffected by what is happening in the world. The mud is rising all around us. But it is not just our mud. It is not someone else's mud. We are all in this together. We are not stuck in the mud together. We are rooted in the mud together. Finding nutritious lessons deep inside and reaching with the lotus flower for the light beyond the darkness. James Cone said that to live meaningfully, we must see light beyond darkness. He suggested that we are required to have faith and hope. And I don't think he means that we must work at it. Just as we have ample mud, I also believe we have ample faith and hope in things unseen. Faith and hope are not exclusively theistic beliefs, but instead elements of the human condition we all share. For example, as James Baldwin wrote, "You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, and then you read. It was books that taught me that the things that tormented me most were the very things that connected me with all people who were alive, who had ever been alive." Suffering does not redeem us. Suffering does not save us. Suffering defines us as alive. Suffering helps us identify with everyone who has ever lived or ever will live. And in our sharing of our suffering, our sharing of our stories, we also include how we survived, how we triumphed, how we delighted. Baldwin says these stories are never new but must always be heard. There isn't any other tale to tell, he says. It's the only light we've got in all this darkness. Our stories are the light and the mud. Our listening and telling nurtures those lotus petals to break open into bloom. Our roots are wet and covered in earth. Let us grow together. Blessed be. May it be so, and amen.
This week, we are sharing our offering plate with DRUM, Diverse Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries. DRUM is the oldest and largest UU People of Color collective. It's allied with our Unitarian Universalist Association, and their mission includes working for self-determination, justice and equal opportunity, overcoming racism through resistance, and transforming and enriching Unitarian Universalism through multicultural experiences. To contribute, you can place cash or a check into the collection plate, or if you are online, you can go to allsoulsindy.org where you'll find a link that says, "Give to All Souls here." Please indicate if your gift is a pledge payment or if it is for Share the Plate if you are paying online or if you are using a check. Let's see. Thank you all for your generosity in supporting the mission of All Souls and for your continued love for one another and for this world. Our morning offering may now be given and gratefully received.
Thank you, Gabe. Go forth from this space, get your pen in hand, and make your bid, your winning bid. I hope you win what you're looking at. These words from Reverend Katie, who has been with us all day here in spirit. Go forth from this space renewed. Go forth from this space to support others in their renewal and growth, ever humble and mindful that the best answers in life exist within ourselves and need only to be coaxed out. May it be so.